Hey now, today we're going to take a look at the Reformation expansion for Coup from Indie Boards and Cards. And I don't have the box for it because it was one of those annoying little clamshell cases, but I digress. Now, just to recap, Coup is a game that I reviewed earlier in the year. It's a very fun game, not the greatest game ever. I think its popularity is like way over what the game actually is, but it's fun. It's basically pure lying or making people think that you're lying, which can be fun at times, and some people it just doesn't work with. I enjoy it though. I think it's a cool game. It was actually rethemed into the world of the Resistance by Indie Board and Cards. The original version of the game, which I also played a long time ago, from Ricky Tata and LeMame Games, had just a very stark medieval theme, quote unquote, to it, but that was fun too. Now, the Reformation expansion adds a few new things. It adds allegiances, so players are either going to be loyalists or reformists, in other words, members of the Resistance or the government, I guess. It also adds the Inquisitor Card, which was actually previously a promo card, I think, that you could get, which is basically like the Ambassador, but with an extra ability. It adds enough cards of all the different cards in order to play with up to 8 players, which I'll say right now I would never, ever recommend. And it also adds, along with the allegiance effect, it adds this Treasury Reserve card, which is going to let you, whenever you change someone's allegiances, which is a new action you have, you put money on the card, and which gives you another action. You can embezzle the money. So there's a lot of things in the expansion, although it's very small and all the changes are relatively minor. But let me go ahead and show you some of the new stuff that comes with this expansion very briefly. Then we're going to come back. I'll tell you what I think about all of it. Okay, we're going to take a quick look at just the new stuff that comes in the Reformation expansion for Coup, and it's pretty much everything that you see here. Now, interestingly enough, they give you new cheat sheet cards, reference sheets, I guess I should call them, some of which include all the new stuff, but they make them double-sided because there's a new Inquisitor card, so if you're not playing with the Inquisitor, you use the other side of the card, and then they give you a whole other stack of reference sheets for if you're playing the normal version of the game without the extra new allegiance stuff, but are using either the Inquisitor or the Ambassador. It's just interesting that they provide us all those, although they didn't actually give you enough to play with the new maximum player count with the new stuff. That's mildly interesting, but in any event, let's move forward. Now, as I just touched on, with this expansion to the game, you can actually play with up to 8 players instead of the typical 6-player maximum that the original version of the game had. Now, this is where I'll interject a little bit of my opinion, which I'll also get to my final thoughts. I don't think that's a good idea. I think this game really works best with 4 or 5 players. Even the maximum count of 6 with the original was too many. But if you want to do that, they have 2 more cards of every single role from the original, including enough of the new Inquisitor card in order to do that. So if you have to play with 7 or 8 players, then you can add those extra cards and you'll be able to do so. As I also mentioned, right now you have the new Inquisitor card, and the Inquisitor is a lot like the Ambassador, but with a sort of a supercharged Ambassador. So you have the ability to exchange a card with the court deck, in which case you just take one of your cards, shuffle it back in the court deck, and take another one. Or you can examine or force another player to exchange their card. You examine one of their cards and can force them to exchange it with one of the cards from the court deck. Also, block stealing, just like the Ambassador. Now, together with that, you have the new Allegiance mode. How that works is you have these cards that very simply either have Reformist on one side or Loyalist on the other side. That symbol, both of those symbols should look very familiar if you played the Resistance, which this new version of the game is themed in. And how that works is that depending on the number of players, each player is going to be dealt out one of these cards. Whoever is the start player is going to decide right then and there, are they a Loyalist or a Reformist? Now, that in and of itself has no bearing on the game. There's no special abilities for either of the factions. It's just a way to split up the players. So when the starting player chooses, let's say, Reformist, the blue side, then alternating from him, everyone flips their card to either Loyalist or Reformist. So you'll go Reformist, Loyalist, so on, depending on the number of players. What that means, gameplay-wise, is that You cannot do anything nasty to anyone who is on your team, who shares an allegiance with you. You can't coup, you can't assassinate, you can't steal, and you can't block foreign aid. You can still challenge, apparently, although it's not in your best interest to do so to someone on your team in the beginning. However, once everyone who's still left in the game is of the same faction, those rules go right out the window. You can do whatever you want to anyone. And in fact, there is a new type of action you can take in this game called conversion. With conversion, you can spend 2 coins to change the allegiance of one other player and flip their card over to the opposite side, or you can spend 1 coin to change your own allegiance, which will immediately mean that the people who you were not messing with before, or that someone else was not messing with before, that person can now mess with them, to put it very awkwardly. Now, whenever you spend coins to do this, they're going to go on another new facet of the game, which is the Treasury Reserve. You'll put those coins on this card, and that opens up another new type of action you can do. So all these things are really interconnected. And that is called Embezzlement. The Embezzlement action, again, if you remember Coup, you only get 1 action per turn, which can be any of these things that I'm mentioning in addition to the original actions. When you embezzle, you simply take all the coins from the Treasury card. The thing is, if you have the Duke as one of your face-down cards, you cannot do that. That's an illegal action. But of course, this is Coup, so you can say whatever you want and do whatever you want. But any other player can challenge that you do actually have the Duke. And if that's the case, then you're going to lose one of your influence points. You've been caught in a lie, which of course is the core of Coup. But really, that's it. The allegiance is very simple. It's just giving you focus onto who you can target during the beginning stages of the game. The Treasury Reserve is just another new action, the Embezzlement, getting potentially a lot of coins from there. People are constantly flipping back and forth between alignments. You have new cards that go up to 7 or 8 players. You have the new Inquisitor card that replaces the Ambassador. And you have new cheat sheets for all this stuff. That's Coup Reformation. Let's get to my final thoughts. Now, I would say that the selling point of the Reformation expansion is the allegiances. I mean, that's the main thing here. It's probably the most interesting aspect to it. And I think it's neat. It's not really like totally a game changer. I mean, the core of the game is still the same. Someone else in my group actually summed it up perfectly for me in saying that it essentially gives you focus. So that when you start the game, instead of just like, I don't like the way you're looking at me, I think I'm going to assassinate you. Instead of doing that, now you know, okay, I can't attack my teammates, I can't steal from them, assassinate them, what have you, but I can do it to this guy because he's not on my team. And if you don't like that, or if you're playing in a game, an odd number of player game, and you don't like the fact that your team is outnumbered, you can change someone's allegiance. And I think that's a cool aspect to it, adding those extra actions. Now, together with that is the Treasury Reserve card, which is interesting. I mean, it gives you the embezzlement action. The coins that you use for changing someone's allegiance go there, but no one ever took that action. We played several games of this with the Reformation expansion, and no one bothered with it because it was never as good as doing the Duke action if you had the Duke, or lied and said that you had the Duke. And no one actually changed allegiances that much. I think it happened maybe once in almost every game that we played. There was at least one game we played where no one bothered to change anyone's allegiance, including their own. I don't know if we were abnormal in that regard. I don't know if we are supposed to be doing that more frequently, but we kind of took the allegiance factor as just, like I said, giving you focus in the beginning of the game, and just using that to whittle down people until it's just your faction out there. And then it goes down to the typical Coup free-for-all. But it's okay. I like the idea of it. Maybe it could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but it is what it is. As far as the Inquisitor variant, the new cards for the Inquisitor, I mean, it's really just a jacked-up ambassador. I wish it was like a completely new role. But the idea of being able to look at someone's card and forcing them to exchange, that is pretty cool in and of itself. But again, it can be a crapshoot because you're just taking another card from the court deck, which could be anything, and they could redraw the same card again. So it may not be that big of a deal. So I think that if you play with either the Ambassador or the Inquisitor, you're fine, and it doesn't change the game that drastically. Now, I already spoiled this in the beginning, but the game has enough cards in the box that you can play with up to 8 players. For the love of all that you believe in that is religious, Do not do this. Do not do this. This game, like I said, it's a decent game. It's good. It really works with 4 or maybe 5 people. That is it. Less than that, it's not that interesting. More than that, it's too long between turns. This game should be fast, fast, fast. Take your turn. It should be so fast that you're not even aware that it's your turn sometimes. Yeah, okay, that's a bad thing, but that really should be that fast, okay? You shouldn't be thinking about it too much on your turn, and when you're in a game like this that's supposed to take, like 10 minutes to play, if you're waiting too long, it totally kills any kind of suspense or fun that can be had. So, and they even say that in the rule book. The game can be too long with that many players. So even with the base game, you could go up to 6, and I wouldn't recommend that. So I definitely wouldn't recommend 7 or 8. But hey, listen, if you can make it work for your group, you have the option in there. So that's definitely something you should be aware of if you're considering purchasing Reformation. For me, this is not a necessary expansion by any stretch of the imagination, but if you really love Coup, give it a shot. It's cheap. I like the allegiance factor of it. The Inquisitor I could take or leave, and I couldn't care less about the extra cards for playing with more players. But again, if you're a Coup nut, hopefully you've already purchased this.